Hello and welcome to Full Stories. We have another AI storybook from Gemini. I put in this time a copy pasta that I made. Well, I guess it's not a copy pasta because it's not shared between different people, but it's a whole list of the lore of Anlia and a short paragraph on what I wanted to do this time. It's the same one that I used to create most of my Anlia stories. Um, Now I'm going to but this one's a little bit better because it's not based on, hold on, let me just share my screen. It's not based on the limitations of Capwing and instead based on the you can see what I put in here. And let's listen.
The clockwork cycles of Anlia.
Now, a lot of the designs aren't accurate, but it's a virtual
In the
reality
forbidden
space,
world
large
of
virtual reality
Anlia,
elements.
life
You can
is
make it
led
look
by
like
the
anything.
the social environment capsules. Vane lived in a test SEC, a place of experimental freedom where the 8 laws were merely suggestions. He spent his days at a terminal, illegally siphoning stardust to boost his star rating, dreaming of skipping the age scale reset of 24 to reach the prestige of
I
32.
don't get where they get the
He
idea
would
of
have
skipping ages,
16 dimensions of
and
his
they're your
cage.
actual age.
But the automated restraint suit does not sleep. As Vane reached for a fifth star, the suit's metallic fibers tightened around his ribs, a cold reminder of the law. A mechanical voice chimed, announcing his violation of the second law of resource equivalence. The suit locked his arms into a rigid T-pose, and the air in the test SEC grew thin as the banishment sequence began. Elsewhere, in a holding SEC, Sora was fighting a different battle. She had been confined for 2 years, striving to beat the Dito versus Mott, the brutal
There's another
measurement of
part where they
brain and
diverge from
nuclear
the model.
pollutants. She had survived the Dito
So
of
these are
1 month
not parts
and the
of the
Fee
time
of 3
scale.
months.
It
Now
stands
she
for
sat
data
in the
expansion
silence of the
theory of
Mott,
terms
the 3 year
versus
where the
me
suit provided
mature
only
out
months of
theory.
survival. Vane was cast into the penal SEC, a lawless dimension where the suits were stripped of their restraint but also their protection. Here, the 8 laws were absent, and the capsules were rusted and broken. He was no longer a predator of data. He was a victim of the desperate. His star rating plummeted to 0, and the golden stardust he had stolen was nothing but grit in his pockets. In the penal SEC, there is no age
They made
scale.
him look naked
Vane
with like
watched as his wrist monitor flickered and died,
a
resetting his
metallic
status to the
sheen.
base level of 3.
That
He
I
was a grown
guess. I
man
mean, I
with
don't
the
know.
understanding of a toddler,
That's
hunted by
weird.
those who had been in the penal SEC long enough to forget the taste of printed nutrients. He realized then that the absence of law was its own kind of restraint. Sora's clock finally struck 0. She had beaten the Mott. Her reward was the center, the highest tier of Anlia's dimensions. As she stepped out of her holding SEC, her suit dissolved into a soft, silken robe.
Again,
Her star
creative
rating
license,
was
but
restored
generally
to
okay.
5, and she was granted the right to skip the reset, jumping straight to the age scale of 48.
Again, that
But the
doesn't work.
center was a vacuum of touch. To maintain the purity of the high SECs, physical contact was forbidden. Sora sat in her luxury capsule, her star rating higher than ever, yet she felt a hollow ache. She pressed a neurotransmitter patch to her
So she
neck,
was in the
and the
center and she
cold of
used
the
an air
suit hurt the
transmitter patch.
warmth
She
bar.
must have moved
But the mask over her
to
face
the
filtered her thighs into static.
to the penal sec for drugs
Holding SEC,
that was
Vane
otherwise
had
the
managed to
center.
claw his way out of the penal zones, only to be captured and placed under restraint once more. He was now attempting his own Dito versus Mott. The suit was tighter now, The fourth law of recidivism ensuring his limbs remained locked for 20 hours a day. He stared at the countdown, the mott, of 3 years, feeling like an eternity of stone. Sora could no longer endure the sterility.
He has the same name as
The
the extinct
high-quality stardust
fact.
prints tasted
Half
like
that
home,
makes,
and the
I don't
narrow
know.
patches felt like lies. She missed the grit. She missed the danger. Most of all, she missed the sensation of something real, the warmth of blood and the friction of skin. She began to
That's
purposefully
exactly what I asked
violate the
for.
laws, whispered forbidden words into her mask to trigger a downgrade. Sora was banished. She didn't fight it. As the dimensions shifted and the air grew thick with the smell of rust, she felt a
Those
surge of
chains.
life. She returned to the penal SEC,
Those look
not
like
as a
chains.
victim, but as a seeker. She found a hidden corner where the lawless gathered, and for the first time in years, she tasted real meat, charred over an illegal fire. Vane's mind began to fracture under the weight of the mott. The automated restraint suit felt like a second skin, one he could never shed. He watched the seconds tick by, 32 months left, 31. He wondered if Sora was still in the center, bathed in light,
Again, there's
while
really
he
no evidence
withered
they
in
ever
the
met
dark.
in this
He
story.
didn't know that the light was just another cage. In Anlia, the cycles continue. Vane strives for a freedom that leads back to a suit, while Sora embraces a ruin that feels like home. Between the stars and the dust, the age scale resets for some and stops for others, two souls passing through the dimensions, forever bound by the restraints they chose and the ones they fled.
So, on the one hand, it gets some details wrong, but on the other hand, it kind of gets it right to the point that, like, it makes Anlia really look bad. I mean, I've got a, I mean, basically the reason I strive for this version of Anlia in reality is because it's attached to all of my previous dreams. Like, this is pretty much what has happened to me in my real life, just with all that technology making it run more smoothly. Um, the it's kind of a yeah, it's early morning, got the nasal congestion. I don't have a cold. If you're wondering, because there's that rat thing going around, the hantavirus. Um, yeah. Basically the reason I strive for this alien is because it's attached to all my previous dreams. It makes it feel like things would go more smoothly. It makes it feel like my life already goes in this way, and making it official would kind of decrease the dissonance that I feel as a lawful neutral person. I think the interesting thing is the interesting thing is that it can look particularly bad or particularly good depending on the architecture. That video in if every online has or every online has a cap. With the music video, nobody saw that, but the that has the most accurate aesthetic of Anlia, except for the part where the sec gets created and they're like moving and all of the floor plates of the different PIMs clunk together. It would be more like the floor plates would stay separate and the bubbles would merge because they're made out of nanobots, like actual soap bubbles in a sink. Um, and you could walk between them. But yeah. Anyway, um, please comment if I can make Anlia be a little bit better. Um, I think I like to make I think I like modifying my design. I'm not sure how to modify it now. I feel like it's all kind of mapped together, but this describes it pretty well. See you in the future, future Dan. All right. Oh, I stopped share. I meant to stop recording.